Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to this Ad Age custom webcast sponsored by Conversant. The topic of today's webcast is how to engage cord-cutting millennials with digital video that actually works. I'm Bob Norp, and I'm your moderator for today. Now, before we begin, we have just a few quick items to go over. We will hear from today's presenters, and then we'll open the floor to your questions. To participate in the Q&A portion of the webcast, all you have to do is type your question into the Ask a Question text area below the presentation window and then click the Submit button. You may submit questions at any time during the webcast, and we will address as many questions as time permits after our presenters' prepared remarks. Please also note the series of widgets that are available for you toward the bottom of the console. Now let's get started with today's webinar. And our presenters for today are Justin Eckhouse, who is Vice President of Product, and Scott Young, who is Senior Vice President, Sales at SET by Conversant. So first up, Justin leads the video and contextual classification teams as VP of Product at SET by Conversant. Justin's teams are responsible for product management, product marketing and design, and prior to joining Conversant, Justin was Director of Product at CBS Interactive, where he ran the video and emerging platforms team. Now, Scott Young leads video revenue and marketing strategy for SET by Conversant as Senior Vice President of Sales. Prior to joining SET, he held senior sales positions at Udemy, VO, and sold full episode digital programming for CBS. Now, Scott began his career in the agency side of the business, working in both national broadcast and digital media. And since we're on Scott, he's the first speaker for today, so take it away.
All right, thanks, Bob. We are going to walk you through a study that we recently executed on how to engage cord-cutting millennials through digital video. And in doing so, we're going to walk you through our unique process. We are going to walk you through how we leverage our unique data assets, Conversant's over 300 million anonymized audience profiles that collect data across mobile, display, and video, and show you how that maps back to our unique ability, SET by Conversant's unique ability to analyze stream-level data of individual pieces of video content. And we're doing that to give you a perspective on how we can really measure and analyze digital video viewership. And we think analyzing digital video viewership is an important piece of the ecosystem because right now it's very difficult to do, and it's a relative unknown entity in digital video today. And we're going to show you how we can leverage that unique asset to drive campaign efficiencies across attitudinal metrics, reach efficiencies, and audience engagement. We selected the millennial demographic specifically because they are the hardest demographic to reach on linear television. They exhibit the highest degree of time-shifted viewing behavior. They view large quantities of content on an on-demand basis. Over 61% of millennials exhibit time-shifted viewing behavior. 72% of millennials leverage YouTube as their dominant viewing platform. And that's also followed by Netflix and then cable. So based on that, we thought that this was a really important demographic to explore and really identify how we can leverage their video viewing behavior to reach them more efficiently and analyze how to reach them most effectively. And we think they're specifically important because by 2020, they will represent over $1.4 trillion in buying power. A couple setup phases within this test. So the study parameters were executed in a two-phased approach. In phase one, we analyzed 10 million anonymized audience profiles from the Conversant data. And what we did was we analyzed this 10 million sample. We analyzed their device usage, their content behavior, their content consumption behavior, in addition to their purchase behavior. Then in phase two, we mapped this back to our stream level analysis across 20 million video impressions run in Q4 of 2014. And we collected video viewership level data and insights and took a deeper dive into what type of content they were finding most engaging, what type of content was trending, and what they were most actively watching. And what we will show you and what we look to measure is specifically how content is a proxy for audience in digital video, and how leveraging this type of information will lift all campaign performance metrics, message recall, brand lift, audience engagement, and a very important factor of efficient reach. And we will also further look to analyze how we can leverage this type of behavioral analysis to determine incremental lift over television. The other segments that we'll show you today is we'll explain what their device usage behavior is, how they activate across over three devices per millennial, and then dive into some more details around their specific audience behaviors, purchase behavior, social interests, and content consumption. So as mentioned, the first phase of this study, we were really looking to dive deep into the individual and map that back to Conversant's over 300 million audience profiles. Throughout this sample, we looked at 10 million millennial audience profiles to collect viewer-level insights. And we analyzed their network transactions, over 3.3 million daily orders per millennial we watched. We also monitored their site navigation to get an indication of browser behavior. And then looked at their engagement at the publisher level, over 7,000 direct publisher integrations. And what we found is that 80% of these millennials sampled, 80% of them own smartphones, no surprise. They activate across over 3 devices per millennial. They are 2 times more likely to activate content across iOS versus Android, and they are most active during the early evening. Additionally, looking at their purchase behavior, they are 7.7 times more likely to purchase tickets online. They are 6.9 times more likely to buy computer software on the line, and they are 6.5 times more likely to buy clothes online, 6.2 times more likely to make wedding-related purchases online, and 6.1 times more likely to make consumer product purchases online. And we expect these numbers to grow exponentially as compared to the population universe over time, especially because they're forecasted to exhibit trillions of dollars in buying power through 2020. Taking a look at their holistic content consumption on the web, they spend the majority of their time consuming sports, video games, and computer content, in addition to news. And through the second phase of this program, what we're really looking to analyze is take a deeper dive into this and to determine how these patterns are specifically related to what their video viewing consumption looks like. And we're going to get a better sense and show you the results of what their digital video viewing behavior looks like. And Justin is going to walk you through our process in collecting this information and how the platform, the technology that powers the platform works. And I'll hand it over to Justin.
All right. So I want to talk about our platform. We're very excited to have, great assets in the audience targeting and contextual space. We feel like putting these both together is a very unique offering that is sort of unmatched in the industry. We see 13,000 videos every minute running through the system, 60 million videos a month, 8 billion potential impressions. So a huge amount of inventory from exchanges, from the Conversant private exchange, from direct publisher relationships, et cetera, that we look at, analyze, look at the users and the user data profiles, as well as the content. So how do we look at the content? We look at all sorts of things. We visit the pages, look at the text, look at the audio, the video, look at the video itself, pull it apart frame by frame. We have a huge amount of algorithms that do motion tracking, look at motion vectors, do facial recognition, for celebrities or known personas in the video, do scene analysis to say, hey, this is a football game, this is a basketball video, which is very important both for the ability to target, but also to provide insights at the contextual level. And because we have all this data and we're looking at everything on a video level rather than a domain level or a URL level, we can really tell you what is happening down to the specific video that your users are engaging with. So we can say, hey, here is the click-through rate or completion rate for this specific video, or roll that up to what we know contextually. So you have 80% completion rate in football videos and only a 50% completion rate in golf videos. So let's use that information, that insight, to optimize your campaign and feature campaigns. So really great features there that we find are sort of unmatched. Moving on to viewability, because we're looking at the page, we know everything about how the page is constructed and its ability to serve viewable content. Is it autoplay? Is it not autoplay? Is it above the fold? And so we use that as signals, among other things, to predict whether when a video serves, an ad serves, will it be viewable. And it works really well. We combine that with our MRC certified viewability client-side tracking to use that as a feedback loop and make sure that we continually maintain high viewability numbers. There's also all of these things put together help us really create an efficient campaign for our customers. So when we did a survey of all the content sort of out there running through the systems, we see about 49% of the content is non-viewable. So when you ran against sort of your average generic campaign not through our platform, potentially 49% of your dollars and impressions would be wasted on non-viewable impressions. And so, with Set by Conversion, you are making a very efficient buy that not only is going to filter out all the non-viewable or low-quality content, but it's going to filter out any content that contextually is not what you're looking to target. Or with audience profiles, you're going to have a very efficient campaign that's going to target just the audience that you're interested in. So moving on to personas, I talked a little bit about facial recognition. We use a variety of techniques, facial recognition, among the top to identify personas in the videos that are in our inventory. We have about 600 in there currently, and are adding more all the time based on the change in the market and demands. And so this is really great to either target personas that are going to resonate with your brand, or for campaigns that you are running either our audience or just other contextual targeting on, we can just tell you which personas we found in the videos that you're running against and what the engagement is like with those personas so that you can use that as insights. So example, in the study, here are some of the top personas that we saw millennials engaging with. As you can see, very high completion rates, all above 80%, which is far above the sort of industry norm that we see of about 65% completion rate. So very pleased with the results here, and this is not at all atypical for the campaigns that we run, and great information to pour back into how you buy and optimize campaigns. Similarly, with events, using a variety of techniques such as scene identification, we're able to again say this is football or this is golf, and we again looked at the top events that millennials were engaging with. These are things like the Super Bowl, Consumer Electronics Show, rock concerts, basketball, and much like personalities, you see very high completion rates. So pairing the right content with the right message has shown very effective. The other interesting thing is that we are able to get access to a lot of content through our contextual identification that isn't normally available So you think about things like Game of Thrones or Orange is the New Black, HBO shows, Netflix shows, where there isn't advertising running on the native platforms. We're able to find content from the show, related clips from the show, where sponsorship is available. So really we can open up areas of content that your audience will really engage with that you wouldn't be able to find anywhere else. And again, showing very high engagement rates in this millennial study with those content that were picked out for them. So we talked about viewability. That is a key piece of ad quality. There's also brand safety. We have, very fine-grained controls to choose the level of brand safety that makes sense for your brand. So I mentioned sort of the motion vectors and, tearing apart the video and really looking what's inside there, what's on the page. We have a variety of levels of brand safety, from filtering out adult content to profanity, violence, drugs, etc. Those are what we call brand safety, but brand safety can even go further than that. It really depends on what is safe for your brand to run against. So if you're an airline and you want to filter out, negative airline news on any ad that you're running, we can put that as a brand safety filter for your campaign. So a lot of power there and flexibility. So I'm going to pass it back to Scott now to wrap up some of the metrics overall that we saw for this and give a little demo of the platform.
As Justin mentioned, based on our ability to really dive deep into viewership and to analyze content by engagement and see how certain audiences react to certain types of content to determine the areas that they are most engaged in, to determine how content is a proxy for audience by executing it in this fashion, we were able to see results that we were really able to see strong lift against your standard campaign performance metrics. One being engagement. We saw a 22% lift over industry average. Efficient reach, by aligning with the appropriate content that we saw indexed very high against certain demographics. We were able to lift our efficient reach against Nielsen averages by 6%. We were able to lift our efficient reach from ComScore averages by over 28%. And what really performed exceptionally well in this case, based on our ability to really ensure that a video creative really resonates within the video that it's being displayed in, or the video player, we were able to see strong lift over all attitudinal metrics, specifically message recall, where we saw a 68% lift over Nielsen averages. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to show you a demo of how we process information the way we do. I'll give you a look at the platform, and you'll be able to see how we are able to forecast avails, how we're able to really mitigate waste and brand safety concerns, but then also give you a transparent look of what you're about to buy before you buy it, and specific types of content that are trending against your criteria, your audience criteria, or your content criteria. So first, we have the ability to apply global filters against syndicated content, against non-viewable content, against in-banner content, non-user initiated, and we could come up with total avails based on those parameters. So now we have our total avails and we have the parameters set. Then we can take a closer look at the type of content. So this was the content that really resonated with the millennial demographic, and it shows impressions per content query. So as you can see, I highlighted Jennifer Lawrence. I want to get a better look at what type of content that we were accessing that are related to Jennifer Lawrence. You could even see down to the individual video level, scale down to the specific video. So I could really take a good look of what's trending against this demographic right now at the individual video level. To give you a sense of all the information we're collecting at the video level on an ongoing basis, Justin mentioned before that we're processing over 60 million videos a month, 13,000 videos a minute. So right this minute, we're processing videos, and then we are also looking at historical performance data. Did we serve an ad against this video? What is the historical performance of this video, and is this an environment that we would recommend to advertise in again and give priority to those specific videos for video level optimization? As you can see here, we saw, you know, 35 impressions against this individual video. We're also collecting brand safety and viewability information, as Justin mentioned. We are collecting this information for predictive decisioning based on viewability and brand safety. And if this video was syndicated, we'd be able to map that back to every single site that it was syndicated to in this tool here. But here you can see exactly where it's running and where it's generating impressions and scale. Then moving forward to the analytics dashboard, we have access to all relevant ad server metrics at the top, total campaign performance. Here we're seeing an 88% video completion rate with a 1.1% response rate. We're collecting information about unique viewership and impression and GRPs on an ongoing basis. Then we can show you the overall brand safety and viewability rating according to our classification data. And then moving down to your programming mix. So here we're really able to see performance by content category and performance by programming mix. So you can get a sense for what your audience is actively engaged with on an ongoing basis. And you can pull metrics down to the individual persona level or as broad as the top level genre level, just so we can determine from an insights perspective where are the relevant content adjacencies that we want to be in front of your audience to improve campaign performance, or give you just more insights into how your audience spends their time and how we can activate personalized messaging based on knowing those attributes against your audience. So we can make this a more individualized experience for your target consumer. And then moving down to our ability to give snapshots and highlights of top performing videos. So it gives you more of a tangible feel of this is what I'm running against, this is how it's performing, and this is where we would recommend to allocate more impressions, and these are the types of videos that we need to surround because that's what your audience is watching. And as you can see here, we can determine how many videos that we actually ran against versus how many videos we blocked. So the whole purpose of this is to really mitigate waste on your behalf and make your media investment go further and drive efficient reach. So even getting more granular than this, you know, we mentioned that in Q4, Super Bowl was a trending category against the millennial demographic. So let's take a deeper look of the Super Bowl type of content that we were running against. You can see every single video you ran an ad against. This was particularly queried for Super Bowl. And just like you saw in the pre-planning phase, now I can show you exactly the videos you ran against and your ad's performance against this individual video. We can play the video. We can see exactly where it came from. Like I mentioned, if it was syndicated, you can see that too. And you can see the viewability and brand safety specs related to this individual video and, of course, ad performance. Another example, Orange is the New Black, queried the system for that information, and these are the videos that looks like some of the videos that we ran against. Additionally, down to the persona, I queried the system for videos they ran against that were Jennifer Lawrence related. I can see all those videos. And then back to reporting. So to provide quick analysis and reports, we could really give a tangible feel for all the videos that an advertiser ran against, or pick apart the top performing ones, the ones that we really want to examine, the ones we want to highlight and say, your campaign's running, this is what it looks like, this is where your ads are running, and this is what your programming actually looks like. And these are the performance results related down to the individual video. I pulled this report specifically just to give an example of a TV mirror. So we can even take linear TV programming and determine how audiences are engaging with linear TV digitally. And I think that these results, as we explore further, will really make some interesting judgments of how we can really impact incremental reach and identify viewer consumption behavior based on the type of content that they're watching to help advertisers manage reach frequency. And that is the third phase of the study that we'll be looking to release down the road once we collect some more data and insights. So if there are any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or Justin. We are happy to show you how we can target this specific millennial demographic based on the findings that we just discussed, or we could brainstorm some new ideas or new ways that you were thinking if you want to talk about any concepts down the road.
Well, with that, we're ready to open the floor to your questions. As a reminder, to participate in the Q&A, just type your question into the Ask a Question text area, then click the Submit button. If we don't get to your question, we'll do our best to get back to you later. And the first question goes out to you guys, and it comes from Michael in the audience, and he says, who is your ancient competition? Perhaps Nielsen? How do you differentiate yourself from what you would consider to be your contemporary competition? So what's your thoughts on this? Who's your ancient competition, and how would you differentiate yourself to your more contemporary competition?
I think that this is new conceptually, and I wouldn't say that we are defining ourselves by trying to compete with Nielsen. I think we're trying to leverage as much Nielsen data and as much Nielsen information to really help advertisers target their ads more efficiently. And that's what we're focused on. These are all learnings that we can garner based on the vast data that we have, but we are really looking to help advertisers connect to consumers in a more efficient way through digital video. So I would say we want to work with what you would call our ancient competition to dive deeper into into where we're finding the highest audience composition according to third-party data, leverage first-party data to really analyze on a one-to-one basis how we can more efficiently reach them and how that maps back to third-party data. And then in terms of our new competition, I think our new competition is anyone that's innovating in digital video, and we think that we focused in a very unique area, and we've been developing these tools since 2007. So we really identified these holes in digital video early on, and have applied a vast amount of resource and investment into solving a lot of these problems. So I think that our new competition is anyone innovating in the digital video space.
Great answer, great answer. Another question comes from the audience from Kenneth. What software package did you use to do video analysis, facial recognition, persona recognition? What can you offer up on that?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So it's just not any kind of off-the-shelf software. Honestly, the company has been working on that for about 8 years, so there's a huge amount of intellectual property that we've developed around those specific techniques, especially as it applies to online video, for the purposes of advertising. So yes, I can't go tell you to go buy something because it was developed in-house, and we have a huge team of engineers and scientists who work exclusively on building and improving those algorithms.
Fantastic. This question comes from Julie. What are the millennial purchase preferences compared against in your example?
So the numbers that were like, they were 6x higher, more likely to have a cell phone. That was against the total online population. Okay, fantastic.
Shannon in the audience wants to know, can you elaborate on the brand safety filters? There was recently an article about YouTube campaigns running against ISIS videos, and I think that's on the mind of a lot of advertisers right now. So what can you do to protect them?
This is a great one, and something that has definitely come up for us. I think we offer a lot of different methods of protection. We actually saw the ISIS videos running through our system and saw that they were properly tagged as violence, among other things. So had you been running a campaign with us, that would have been filtered out. So again, we have a bunch of different areas of brand safety, some, violence, profanity, etc., that are pretty clear, but we're also monitoring news and anything that's important to you as a brand to make sure that we don't run your campaign against. We can work to develop targets and filters to make sure that you steer clear of that stuff. So there's a lot of flexibility there, but we've been very effective at doing it. And given our video level reporting, have been able to continually audit what a campaign is running against to make sure that nothing is missed.
Yeah, and to Justin's point, I think that video level reporting is a key point in the differentiation here. And as a result of having access to this video level reporting, we can really have vision and insight into where we are running our digital video ads. Without it, it's very difficult to determine. You can't just get this information from looking at a URL. A lot of digital video content is syndicated and it's constantly changing. So we are monitoring those changes and we are making video level decisions on where we serve an advertisement. And if you recall in the demo that I showed, we ran on about 10% of the total ad calls that we saw within market. And without having those filters in place, you can really expose your brand to some unsafe content.
Yeah, I know it's in the news constantly, so it's great that you're doing that. Kenneth is asking, 10 million population, a user data that involves 10 million records. That's pretty extensive. How do you get this data? Is it coming from U.S. national random samples, and are they representative of the M generation? He's asking.
So I'm not totally sure I understand the question, but Conversant has a huge proprietary database of user profiles based on transaction history through partners, and so the data was identified using the proprietary profiles of Conversant, and then paired up with the contextual data that we have from the classification engine.
That's fair enough.
So they're all representative of the M generation. They were all U.S. 18 to 34-year-olds.
Great.
Yes.
Now, Christopher is asking, do you measure content on specific publishers' sites, example YouTube, ESPN Go, etc.?
Yeah, we measure content. We measure content on a trending volume basis. So we are monitoring trends in viewership. We're tapped into. We have API integrations with the majority of the exchanges, private exchange relationships, the Conversant publisher network of over 7,000 direct sites. In addition to, we do process information on YouTube in heavy quantities.
Yeah, and I think an important point here is that there's long been a focus on site list buying in the video space, and that based on the premise of set by Conversant, we really focus on either audience buying or contextual buying, because there may be sites that you totally miss out on if there's one bad video and you block at the site list level. You miss out on a huge inventory and maybe a whole segment of the audience. And so we're going to find the good stuff on every site. And so it's not sort of a site list type of thing. It's really individual video, contextual, and audience targeting.
Now, Shannon is asking, how do you decide if the audience or content targeting works better for a client? What's the decision-making process there?
I don't think that it always has to be a decision. I think you can deploy multiple tactics. I think that you can say, I really want to drive efficient reach, and that's my primary goal against this particular audience. So then I would say, all right, let's leverage data to reach an audience, but let's leverage what we know about that audience viewership, and let's target top indexing content against that specific demographic to extend reach. And by leveraging data to do so, you can look at it in terms of, all right, I'm targeting based on data, and now I'm able to see what my audience viewership looks like. And that's something that we're monitoring on an ongoing basis, so we already have access to that information, and we're monitoring the larger demographics to determine what they are watching. So we'll know right away where to place your ads for optimal performance. Then inversely, you could say, all right, I have a heavy branding focus against my tentpole events. I really want to take over high share of voice of Super Bowl, March Madness, etc. Then we can report back on the types of demographics that we see actively engaged with that type of content on an ongoing basis throughout the campaign. So I think you could use both approaches. I don't think you have to make a decision which approach you use. I think in the end, we have the tools and resources to tell you which tactic is more efficient and be able to optimize into the videos that are driving your campaign's success metrics.
A reminder to the audience, you can ask questions at any time. And we've got another question here. What do you think the future of video measurement looks like? That's always something on a lot of people's minds. I mean, looking out 10, 15 years, what does the future look like for you?
Well, I think there's a future for us, and then there's a future for the industry. We're obviously looking to follow those trends. I think the big thing on everyone's mind is how do we leverage this data to make our linear TV program work in conjunction with digital video? Where are the outlets that we're driving the most efficient incremental reach? How can I manage my GRPs, TRPs across screens? And just like a lot of players, innovators in the space, we're looking to solve those problems. And that's definitely where we see this platform going, is getting more tools to evaluate and measure that. Additionally, I think that we also have to look at the entire media mix and how video fits into that. And I think that Set by Conversant being part of Conversant, a massive entity in the data space, display, and mobile, is to see how video fits into that ecosystem as well, and how you can manage your reach frequency not only across screens but across mediums in the digital video space, and really leverage digital video for that high impact nature and exposing and creating new customer engagements and branding, but then seeing how that reacts and how that drives transactions down to the lower parts of the purchase funnel. And we are very focused on connecting the dots between all those entities.
Okay, great. Now, next up, let me see if I can pull this next question up. What's your vision in the next few years overall? Well, that's already been asked, so let's go to this next one. Is there a way to connect the viewability and time spent here with sales on behalf of the client? Any thoughts on that?
So I'll make some assumptions about what this question means. So for sure, viewability is one of our key features, and we can report to the client on a variety of different ways of looking at viewability and time spent watching the ad. With our client-side technology specifically, can measure the time in view, the audio, and stuff like that. And so we can definitely use that to optimize based on the engagement metrics that are most important to the client.
I think the short answer is that yes, there are ways to map back those data points. It depends on the specifics of how you were looking to do that and how you're looking to measure that. But that specific strategy definitely fits into the overall vision of where we're headed. And like I said, really seeing how video impacts your overall campaign, and if it's transactions that you're really focused on, seeing how video is an aid in driving more transactional behavior through display and mobile and other resources as well.
A follow-up question on that comes from Robert, and he's asking, I see that you can measure the engagement with the content, but how can you assure that there is engagement with the ad? How can you distinguish between those two?
So in terms of determining engagement with an ad in connection with content, so a lot of the measurement that we discussed today is the engagement with the ad. And if on the very top line level, when we say engagement with an ad, I'm saying what I'm really looking for is either how sticky was the ad to captivate a viewer's attention that they watched a 15 or 30 second spot before the content that they intended to watch, or how sticky is the content that they wanted to watch where they would sit through a 15 or 30 second spot. And right now we're just measuring that based on video completion rates, Typically we're seeing video completion rates upwards of 80% across short-form digital video content if targeted appropriately. And then one more point. The engagement, another way you can classify engagement is through attitudinal metrics like message recall. So did we serve this in relevant environments where they were actually engaged enough with the ad unit in connection with the content, where their message recall of your ad unit was very high. And I think that this is a benchmark that this is how we really like to measure ourselves. We really want to prove out how content is a proxy for audience and message recall.
Okay, here's a question for you. Entertainment was not included in the content consumption chart, the ring graphic. Do millennials not consume much entertainment on the internet? I mean, why is this happening in this chart?
So they do, and that should be on there under 3.9%. So it wasn't one of the highest categories. But it's definitely on there at 3.9%. So between business and finance, and then you also saw a lot of the personalities that we highlighted are obviously all entertainment personalities for the most part, and was heavy consumption there as well.
Yeah, I think holistically it was dominated by sports. Because of the time frame in which we served. I think when we look at this in Q1 around more red carpet season, we definitely see a heavier domination of entertainment-focused viewership.
Okay, and here's a question about millennials. When it comes to millennials, what's the best approach to get them to act on a digital video in this environment? Any thoughts, any tips?
I mean, I think everything we've been talking about, I think, time and time again, it's pairing up the right content, with the audience who's interested in consuming that content. And, this is why we see high viewability rates and high completion rates and engagement rates, is because, we're doing what's been done on, TV buying for 50 plus years, pairing up your brand message with content that your audience is interested in consuming, is sort of a key piece of the puzzle here.
Yeah, and I think that's a good question, because you're talking about a demographic that has is very familiar with accessing video through their various devices, and as a result, they have probably adopted a cadence of ignoring ads. Especially if the ad unit's skippable. They'll probably be the first to inherently, habitually skip that ad because they're so familiar with the medium. So I think that what we really look to evaluate here is what is going to captivate their attention, what's going to stand out above the clutter, and how to actively engage them. And I think that talking to us about how you can personalize your messaging, in greater regard, and how that can map back to the content that they're consuming is definitely a strong angle that we can take, and something that we can discuss and have the abilities to execute.
That brings up another question that's also been asked, which is how do you combat skippable video advertising? And obviously there's some great suggestions you've already given out for millennials, but how do you combat it in a macro sense?
I think it's still very similar to that. I think people's attention spans when they're watching short-form digital video is short. So I think your shorter spots are going to work. Your more accustomed to digital spots are probably going to work better. I think that they have to captivate someone's attention within the first 5 seconds for them to continue watching. And I think that just as we noted, I think that enhancing your messaging with call to actions, and being able to really dynamically personalize that messaging will be a key factor in captivating any audience.
We talked many times about the insights and what that gives us in terms of ability to optimize. So if we're seeing low engagement rates in certain contextual categories, we can easily filter that out and target up the buy on areas where we're seeing high engagement rates and less skipping.
There's a question here from Art. How much persona data, and I'm assuming he means personal data have you collected, and what platforms have you been able to collect this data for? For example, is this mainly YouTube, Vimeo, Twitter, Facebook, etc.?
Sure. So I could read this question two ways. It could be asking about our personas, or it could be asking about personal data, and so I'll answer it both ways. So personas, we have, I think I mentioned 600 active in our system today, and we identify those personas across all of the platforms running video. If we're talking about personal data, Conversant's profiles, we have 300 million, and are able to match those profiles again across all of the platforms that are mentioned in that question.
Fantastic. Now Bruce is asking a question about, are there big differences or trends looking at mobile versus other screens, or have they all blended together at this point in terms of video behavior, meaning everybody treats video the same no matter what platform they're on? What's your opinions about that?
I think there's certainly subtle differences that you do see between the different platforms. I think good content is good content, and that always trumps everything else is sort of what we see. So if you have your contextual targeting correctly, your audience targeting, and you're pairing up, messages that, those audiences engage with, that is going to work no matter what screen you're on. You see differences in, people's ability to sit through longer ads. So, if you're going to run long form ads on a small screen where someone's just in it for a quick bite, that kind of thing doesn't work as well. So there's minor differences, and our teams here advise clients on how best to make their buys work across different platforms and can optimize on a per platform basis. But I think one of the great powers of the Conversant platform is that we can target across all these platforms. We do profile matching across desktop and mobile, and can give insights on contextual across all of them. So it's really the power of the platform and the portfolios that we have allows us to do that in ways that sort of are unparalleled.
Now, here's just a practical question about you guys. What makes you different? What makes you different from the competition out there in the marketplace?
I think what makes us different is really the model that we're approaching the video space and our tremendous access to these vast data resources to connect the dots between an audience and how to effectively engage them. In addition to that, I think our ability to really look at the video level analysis to activate video level decisioning based on engagement, brand safety, content alignment, and audience is something that really distinguishes us. And then the ability to transparently display the actual programming mix that an advertiser is running against, so you can really efficiently evaluate where you're generating the greatest response, and see in a real tangible way how effective your video ad campaign is performing.
And what verticals do you typically see the most success with? I assume that there are some advertisers that do better than others.
I think that we see the most success if you're talking about pure digital video perspective. Top television advertisers that are really looking to make a big impact, a big branding impact, that really want to focus on the stickiness of their message and having the consumer remember them, and building large share of voice within a consumer's mindset, and driving strong branding results. And like I said, we can take those metrics and measure that back to more transactional elements and enhance that transactional activity with with display and mobile executions, but I think in a pure play digital environment, it's those that really want to surround their big tentpole events, complement their television programs, and I think those advertisers perform the best.
Well, that's great, and with that, we've reached the end of our time. Thank you for attending Ad Age's custom webcast today, sponsored by Conversant. You can also view and listen to this presentation on demand using the same link you used to attend today. A link will be provided to you as soon as the archive is ready. You will receive an email that lets you know how to take care of this. On behalf of our guests today, Justin Eckhouse and Scott Young, thank you for your time and have a great day.